The first sound came at 2:13 a.m. A slow, heavy footstep right above my bed. Thump. I opened my eyes in the dark. For a moment, I did not move. I just listened. Silence filled the room. The air felt thick and cold. Then it came again. Thump. Another step. It was coming from the attic above my bedroom. My name is Daniel Carter. I live alone in a small house on Willow Creek Road in Cedar Hill, Texas. At least, I thought I lived alone. I slowly sat up in bed. My heart started beating faster. Thump. Another step above me. The attic in this house is small. The landlord told me that when I moved here 3 months ago. He said nobody uses it. Just old wood and insulation. No one goes up there. And yet, someone was walking. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. The screen light filled the dark room. 2:14 a.m. The sound stopped. Complete silence. For a moment, I told myself something simple. Maybe the house was settling. Maybe wood was cracking. Maybe a raccoon got inside the roof. Yes, that had to be it. Animals. I lay back down slowly. The silence lasted for about 20 seconds. Then something dragged across the attic floor. A long scraping sound like something heavy moving across wood. My chest tightened. Animals do not drag things like that. I sat up again. The sound stopped instantly. It felt like whatever was up there knew I was awake. The silence became unbearable. I whispered to myself, "It's nothing." But deep down, I did not believe that. I stared at the ceiling. The attic entrance was not inside my room. It was in the hallway outside, a small square door in the ceiling with a pull rope. I had never opened it because I had no reason to. Until now. A cold wind pushed softly against my bedroom window. Tree branches scraped the glass outside. Serrrch. Then suddenly, knock. 3 slow knocks came from the attic floor above me. Knock, knock, knock. My blood turned cold. Someone was knocking from above. I froze. My brain tried to explain it. Maybe pipes. Maybe wood shifting. Maybe knock, knock, knock. Again. Slow, heavy, intentional. This was not the house making noise. This was someone asking to be heard. My mouth felt dry. I whispered toward the ceiling. Hello. The word barely left my lips. The attic went completely silent. For 10 long seconds, nothing happened. Then, a whisper came through the ceiling. So faint I almost thought I imagined it. But I heard it clearly. A voice. Right above my bed. Soft. Breathing. And then it said something that made every hair on my body stand up. Daniel. My heart slammed against my ribs. The voice knew my name. I jumped out of bed and turned on the bedroom light. The room filled with yellow light. The attic went silent again. No footsteps. No scraping. Nothing. Just silence. My hands were shaking. How could someone up there know my name? No one had been inside this house except me. No visitors. No friends. Nothing. I slowly opened my bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. The attic door was above me. A small square wooden panel. The rope hung down. Still. Silent. The hallway light flickered once. My breathing felt loud. The house felt wrong. Like someone else was standing very close to me. Listening. Watching. Waiting. I stared up at the attic door for a long moment. Then I whispered something I instantly regretted. Is someone up there? For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the rope on the attic door moved slightly. Very slowly. Like something above it had just touched it. And then, a soft voice came from the darkness above the door. Right on the other side of the wood. Daniel, please, don't open it. And that was the moment I realized something truly terrifying. If the voice was telling me not to open the attic, then something much worse was already inside with me. If you are still listening, make sure you hear the ending. Because what I discovered in that attic still wakes me up at night. The voice had just said something impossible. Daniel, please, don't open it. The whisper came from inside the attic. But the voice sounded afraid. Not threatening. Not angry. Afraid. I stood frozen under the attic door in the hallway. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my throat. Who was up there? And why did they know my name? The rope of the attic door was still moving slightly. It swayed back and forth like something had just touched it. I slowly stepped back. Who are you? I asked quietly. No answer. The hallway light flickered again. The house felt colder now. Then suddenly, thump. A loud step above the ceiling. Right above my head. I jumped. That step sounded heavy. Too heavy to be a raccoon or a small animal. Someone was definitely moving up there. The attic voice whispered again. Daniel, listen to me. The sound came through the wood. Soft. Urgent. You need to leave the house. My stomach twisted. What? I said, "Leave, right now." The whispers sounded desperate. My mind filled with questions. Who was this person? How long had they been in my attic? Why were they warning me? And the biggest question of all, what was I supposed to be afraid of? "I'm calling the police," I said. The voice above me breathed sharply. No, a pause. Then the whisper came again. "You don't understand." The hallway went silent. Then something slowly scratched across the attic floor. Scratch, like fingernails dragging over wood. The sound moved slowly, directly above the attic door. I stared at the wooden panel. My hands were shaking. Something was definitely standing up there. The whisper returned. But this time the voice sounded closer to the door. "Daniel, do you hear it?" My throat felt dry. "Hear what?" I asked. The voice whispered one word. "Breathing." I stopped breathing myself. For 2 seconds, I heard nothing. Then I heard it. Very faint. Very slow. Breathing. But it was not coming from the attic. It was coming from behind me. Right inside the hallway. My entire body froze. The breath was low and wet. Like someone standing very close. In the darkness behind my back, I slowly turned around. The hallway behind me was empty. The kitchen light was off. The living room was dark. Nothing moved. But the breathing continued. Slow. Deep. Right inside the house. I whispered toward the attic. "Someone is in my house." The attic voice answered instantly. "Yes." My chest tightened. "How do you know?" I asked. For a moment the voice said nothing. Then it whispered something that made my stomach drop. "Because I used to be down there." My mind spun. "What do you mean?" The voice spoke slowly, like someone remembering something horrible. "I lived in your house before you." A long pause. Then the whisper continued. "I stayed in the attic to hide." My skin felt cold. "Hide from what?" I asked. The voice did not answer immediately. Instead, something moved in the living room. A soft sound, like a chair leg dragging slightly across the floor. Scrrk. The breathing stopped. The house went completely silent. The attic voice whispered again. "Daniel, listen carefully. If you hear it walking, do not move." My heart started racing. "Why?" I asked. The whisper came back. "Because it can hear you breathe." My blood ran cold. Before I could ask anything else, a floorboard creaked in the living room. Very slowly. Someone had just taken a step inside my house. Another step followed. Creak. Then another. Creak. The footsteps were moving down the hallway toward me. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. I backed away from the attic door. My breathing felt loud. Too loud. The attic voice whispered urgently. "Daniel, stop breathing so loud." I tried to hold my breath. The footsteps stopped. Right outside the hallway. Complete silence filled the house. Then, a voice came from the darkness of the living room. A deep voice. Cold. Wrong. "Daniel." My stomach dropped. "How did you know my name?" I whispered. The voice in the dark laughed softly. A low, broken sound. Then it said something that made my blood freeze. "I've been watching you sleep since the night you moved in. If you are still listening, make sure you hear the ending." Because the next thing I discovered was something far worse than a stranger in my house. "I've been watching you sleep since the night you moved in." The voice in the living room was calm. Too calm. My heart felt like it would explode in my chest. I stood frozen in the hallway. The attic door was above me. The dark living room was in front of me. And someone was standing inside it. Watching. Waiting. The attic voice whispered urgently. "Daniel, don't move." I swallowed slowly. The floorboard in the living room creaked again. Creak. One step closer. The darkness there looked thicker now, like the shadows were alive. I tried to control my breathing. Slow. Quiet. But fear makes breathing loud. Another step came from the darkness. Creak. The footsteps were now at the entrance of the hallway. I could not see the face. Only a shape. Tall. Still. Standing in the dark. My voice came out weak. "Who are you?" The figure did not answer. For a few seconds it simply stood there. Then it took another slow step forward. The hallway light flickered. For a split second the light revealed its face. My stomach dropped. It looked like a man. But something about the face was wrong. The skin looked pale. Too pale. The eyes were wide open. And they did not blink. Not once. The figure tilted its head slightly, like an animal studying prey. Then it spoke again. "Daniel, why are you awake?" My mind raced. How long had this thing been inside my house? How long had it been watching me? I slowly stepped backward. The attic voice whispered quickly. "Don't let it see you panic." My hand touched the wall behind me. Cold sweat covered my palms. The figure in the hallway took another step. Creak. Now the light touched its face fully, and I noticed something even worse. Its mouth was smiling, but the smile looked wrong. Too wide, too still, like it had practiced smiling, but never actually felt it. The man's voice came again. I told you before, Daniel, I like watching you sleep. My chest tightened. I whispered to the attic. Who is that? The attic voice answered quietly. I don't know its real name. A pause. Then the whisper came again. But I know what it does. The man in the hallway stopped walking. His head turned slightly, like he heard something. The attic voice suddenly became very quiet, almost silent. Daniel, it can hear whispers too. My heart skipped a beat. The man's eyes slowly moved toward the ceiling, toward the attic door. Then the smile disappeared from his face. For the first time, he looked angry. Very slowly, he looked back at me. You've been talking to someone, he said. My stomach dropped. I said nothing. The man's eyes narrowed. Then he slowly walked closer. Creak, creak, creak. Now he was only a few feet away from me. I could see everything clearly. His clothes were dirty. His skin looked gray. And his eyes looked empty, like something inside him had died long ago. The man leaned his head slightly. Then he whispered something that made my blood turn cold. Did the attic tell you about me? My mouth went dry. The attic voice suddenly whispered fast. Daniel, listen carefully. You must not let him open the attic. My heart skipped. Why? What was inside the attic? Before I could think, the man slowly turned his head upward, toward the attic door. Then he smiled again. But this smile was different. This smile looked excited. Oh, he said softly. So that's where you've been hiding. My entire body went cold. The man slowly raised his hand and reached for the rope of the attic door. The attic voice screamed suddenly. Daniel, stop him. My body finally moved. I grabbed the man's arm. But the moment I touched him, I realized something horrifying. His skin was freezing cold, like touching a dead body. The man turned his head slowly toward me. His eyes looked darker now, much darker. Then he whispered one sentence. You shouldn't have touched me. And at that exact moment, the attic door opened by itself. The attic door slammed open. Bang! Dust fell from the ceiling. The wooden panel swung down above us. Cold air rushed out of the attic. Dark, thick, and something else came with it. A smell. Rotten. Old. Like something had been trapped up there for a long time. The man in front of me slowly turned his head upward. His smile grew wider. Oh, you're still alive up there, he said softly. My heart pounded in my chest. I stepped back. The attic ladder slowly unfolded and dropped down. Creak, creak, creak. It touched the floor. The hallway light flickered again. The attic was completely dark. I could not see anything inside it, but I could feel something watching us from above. Then the whisper came again. Daniel. The voice from the attic sounded weaker now. Scared. Don't let him come up here. The man laughed. A low, broken sound. I was wondering how long you could hide, he said. My mind was spinning. What is happening? I shouted. Neither of them answered me. The man took one slow step toward the ladder. Creak. I grabbed his arm again. Stop. He did not even look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the attic. I almost caught you last time, he said. My stomach twisted. Last time. I whispered. The attic voice spoke again. Fast. Panicked. Daniel. He's lying. The man stopped moving. Very slowly, he turned his head toward the ceiling. His face looked angry again. You talk too much, he said. Then he grabbed the ladder and started climbing. Step, step, step. The attic swallowed him into darkness. My heart pounded harder. The whisper above became desperate. Daniel, don't let him reach me. I stood there frozen. Then I heard something inside the attic. A struggle. Wood hitting wood. Bodies moving. Thump, thump. Then a scream. A horrible scream. Hi. Terrified. It echoed through the attic. No. Stay back. The voice was the same one that had been warning me. Then another sound followed. A deep laugh. The man's laugh. Calm. Satisfied. My chest tightened. I could not just stand there. I grabbed the ladder and climbed up. Step. 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 The attic was freezing cold. My head rose above the floor. The darkness swallowed everything. Only the weak hallway light came from below. Hello. I whispered. Something moved in the corner. A shadow. Then the man stepped into the light. He was standing across the attic. His clothes were covered in dust, but his smile was calm again. Behind him, something was lying on the floor. A person. The man looked down at it, then back at me. You shouldn't have listened to him, he said. My throat felt tight. Is he dead? I asked. The man tilted his head. Then he said something strange. He died a long time ago. My mind froze. What? The man pointed at the body on the floor. You should take a closer look. My legs felt weak, but I slowly walked forward. Step, step, step. The attic floor creaked under my feet. The body was lying face down. Its clothes looked old, dusty, like it had been there for years. My hands shook as I turned it over. The moment the face rolled into the light, my entire body went numb, because the face staring back at me was my face. Same eyes, same hair, same scar above the eyebrow. Exactly like me, but the skin was gray, dead, rotten. I stumbled backward. What is this? My voice shook. The man watched me carefully. Then he said something that made the world feel unreal. You really don't remember, do you? My mind spun. Remember what? The man's smile slowly returned. Daniel, you were the one living in the attic. The air felt heavy. My chest tightened. That's impossible, I whispered. The man leaned closer to me. Then he said quietly, you moved into this house 3 years ago. You disappeared 6 months later. My blood ran cold. That's a lie. The man pointed slowly at the body again. Then explained that. My breathing became uneven. My mind searched for answers, but none came. Then the man whispered something that made my heart stop. You didn't hide in the attic, Daniel. You were locked in the attic. Silence filled the dark space. And suddenly, I heard something behind me. Another breath. Slow. Heavy. Inside the attic. But the man was in front of me, and the dead body was on the floor, which meant something else was standing behind me. The breath behind me was slow, heavy, wet. It was close. Too close. Cold air touched the back of my neck. My body froze. The man in front of me slowly smiled again. But this time the smile looked different. It looked nervous. Daniel, he said quietly, don't turn around. My heart slammed against my ribs. What is behind me? I whispered. The man did not answer immediately. His eyes moved slowly over my shoulder, looking at something standing directly behind me. Then he took one small step backward. That was the first time I saw fear on his face. Daniel, he said again, listen to me carefully. My hands were shaking. Do not move. But the breathing behind me grew louder. Slow. Deep. Like something very large was filling its lungs. My mind raced. I whispered, what is it? The man swallowed. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. That is why I locked you in the attic. My chest tightened. What? The man pointed slowly at the dead body on the floor. That body isn't the real problem. My breathing became uneven. Then what is? The man did not answer. Instead, his eyes slowly lifted, looking at the ceiling above me, like something taller than me was standing there. The breath behind me suddenly stopped. Complete silence filled the attic. Then a whisper came from behind my ear. Daniel, my entire body went cold. That voice, it sounded exactly like mine. Same tone, same voice. I slowly closed my eyes. No, I whispered. The man in front of me looked terrified now. You hear it too, he said. The whisper behind me spoke again. Daniel, why did you leave me up here? My heart pounded. I didn't, I said, but my voice sounded weak, uncertain. The whisper laughed softly. A broken sound. You did. Cold fingers touched the back of my shoulder. My skin felt like ice. 3 years ago, you found the attic door. The whisper was calm. Too calm. You heard me breathing. My mind filled with fragments of memory. Dark. Blurry. Something scratching above the ceiling. Something calling my name. The whisper continued. You opened the attic. Images flashed in my mind. A dark attic. A shape in the corner. Eyes in the dark. The whisper grew colder. You saw me. My chest tightened. The man in front of me slowly backed away. Step. 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 He was terrified now. The whisper behind me leaned closer. And when you saw me, you tried to kill me. My eyes snapped open. That's not true. The whisper laughed again. You pushed me. My stomach dropped. You pushed me down the ladder. My hands started shaking. The whisper spoke one final sentence. And when my neck broke, the breath returned behind me. Louder now. Hungrier. You became me. My mind exploded with memories. That night, 3 years ago, I remembered it now. I had opened the attic. I had seen something hiding there. Something that looked human. But its eyes were wrong. Its smile was wrong. It tried to crawl toward me. I panicked. I pushed it. It fell. Its neck snapped. But when I looked down, the body on the floor looked exactly like me. I screamed. What are you? The whisper behind me answered calmly. I'm what this house makes. My blood turned cold. The man suddenly shouted, "Daniel, run!" But before I could move, two cold hands grabbed my shoulders. Slowly, gently. Then the whisper spoke again. "Don't worry. You won't remember this part either." The hands behind me tightened. Pain exploded in my neck. Crack. My body collapsed to the attic floor. The last thing I saw was the man screaming in terror, and the thing wearing my face, slowly standing up. Then everything went dark. Darkness. That was the first thing I felt. Endless darkness. Then slowly, I felt something else. Cold wood under my face. Dust in my nose. A smell of old insulation. My eyes opened slowly. I was lying on the attic floor. For a few seconds my mind was empty. No thoughts. No memory. Just silence. Then I heard footsteps below me. Inside the house. Creak. Creak. Someone was walking in the hallway. My heart started beating faster. Why was someone in my house? I slowly pushed myself up. My neck hurt badly, like something had snapped inside it. My head spun. Then I noticed something strange. My hands looked pale. Very pale. Almost gray. Dust covered my clothes. Like I had been lying here for a long time. Suddenly, a voice echoed from below. "Hello." A man's voice. Nervous. Confused. "I just moved in today," the voice said. My heart froze. Something about that sentence felt familiar. Very familiar. The voice continued. "My name is Daniel Carter." The words hit my mind like lightning. Daniel Carter. That was my name, wasn't it? My breathing became slow. Confused. I crawled toward the attic opening. The ladder was gone, but the wooden door below had a small crack of light around it. I knelt beside it and listened. The man downstairs walked through the house, opening drawers, checking rooms. His footsteps moved into the bedroom. Then silence. A few seconds later, the bedroom light turned off. Darkness filled the house again. My chest tightened. Something inside me was waking up. Something old. Something hungry. A whisper formed inside my throat, without me meaning to say it. "Daniel." My voice sounded strange. Dry. Broken. I pressed my hand over my mouth. But the whisper came again. Louder this time. "Daniel." Footsteps suddenly moved below. Fast. The man was awake. "What was that?" he said. Fear filled his voice. I felt something strange inside my chest. A feeling that did not belong to me. Excitement. I tried to stand. My legs moved slowly, like they were learning how to walk again. Then a memory flashed inside my mind. Another man. Another Daniel. Standing in the hallway. 3 years ago. I remembered watching him sleep. Night after night. Waiting. Hiding in the attic. Until the night he finally opened the door. My breathing grew heavier. The house below went silent. The man whispered, "Hello." He was standing under the attic door now. I could hear his breathing clearly. Fast. Scared. My fingers slowly touched the attic rope. It felt familiar, like I had done this many times before. The man below spoke again. "Is someone up there?" I stayed silent. My hand slowly pulled the rope. The attic door moved slightly, just enough to make a small creaking sound. Creak. The man gasped. "Who's there?" My lips slowly moved. The words came out before I could stop them. Soft. Cold. "Daniel." Silence filled the hallway. Then the man whispered nervously, "How do you know my name?" My heart beat slower now. Calmer. Like something inside me had fully awakened. I leaned closer to the door and whispered the same sentence I once heard before. "Daniel, please, don't open it." Because I knew something he didn't. Sooner or later, everyone opens the attic. And when they do, someone else finally gets to leave. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.